Chapter 15. We went to the rec room after supper, and Kit showed me how to play ping pong. I wasn't very good. He said I hit the ball too hard, but I didn't care. Something inside me made me feel like things were wrong. I was worried that I hadn't escaped yet. I feel so penned up that my skin was beginning to itch. I can't play anymore, Kit. How come? I don't feel good. I'm going to go to the bunk room and lie down and look out the window. You want me to come with you? You don't have to. I'm coming with you. Kit followed me down the hall. It was dark outside, and I could hear the wind picking up in the trees. When we got to the bunk room, we heard tapping on the window. It was Hale. When he saw it was us, he frowned and walked back out into the play yard. I looked at his bunk and noticed that his blanket and pillow were still on it. I thought of what Pap would tell me if I were out there. Boy, you'd catch pneumonia out in this cold. Go back and get something to keep you warm. We lay on our sides on Kit's bottom bunk with our heads at opposite ends. I put my hand through my hair again while Kit watched me. I bet it was fun out there in the forest with your father, he said. I nodded. You could do anything you want, he said. You don't need anybody telling you what to do, I replied. No government, nothing. And just you and your father all the time. That's right. I wish I had a father. I gazed out the window where Hal had been earlier. I wish I was busted out of here. I said, I've never had any friends like you. I don't know how long I can take this place. You know, I wasn't one of the ones making fun of you yesterday. I looked at Kit. I know. Most everybody wants to talk to me now because they know I'm your friend. They're scared of you. I'm not going to whip up on anybody as long as they don't try and make me do things I don't want to do. That's good. I said, Pap told me I could talk to him by writing letters and burning them. He said you can talk to dead people that way. You ever do it? A couple of times. I wish I had some stuff to write with and a fire right now. They won't let us have fires here. I know. I could start one up quick if we could. I like Mr. Carter, though, and he told me not to. I gazed out the window again. What are you looking at? Kit asked after a while. Nothing. What's it like in the forest right now? It's windy at the tops of the pines, but not enough for it to get down to the forest floor. There's a few clouds overhead, but not enough to cover up the moon. There's a slice of moon out tonight. What kinds of animals are out when it gets dark? Not too long ago, the coons came down out of the oak and hickory trees and started walking around, finding stuff to eat. They like bugs and frogs and bird eggs. There's deer walking around, owls calling, turkeys sitting up in the treetops like big black nests. You can smell the dirt. You can smell dirt? I nodded. You can smell everything out there, especially at night when the air gets still. Just about the only thing sleeping are small birds and people. Squirrels. Most things in the forest like the nighttime. Kit nodded. I was still staring out the window. He's going to be cold, I said. He doesn't have his blanket. Whew, hell. He's got his jacket on. I didn't reply, but got up and went over and got Hal's bedding and started for the door. Where are you going? Take him his stuff. No, he'd kill you. There's not anybody around to help you right now. I'm not scared of him. Don't go out there, Moon. I'll be okay. I opened the door and stepped outside. A cold wind came across the play yard into my face, and I saw Hale huddled against one of the school trailers. I walked towards him, and he took his hand from the pocket and crossed his arms tightly. What the heck you doing? He said. Trading with you. Trading what? I'm going to sleep out here tonight. You can pretend to be me and use my bed. This is your stuff. Pretend to be you? Yeah, pull my covers up over you and pretend to be asleep when Mr. Carter comes in for lights out. You crazy? No, I just don't feel good. Hale took a step towards me and jammed his hands down in his pockets. Why are you doing this? It's nothing to me to sleep on the ground. I'd rather be outside than in there. I think it'll make me feel better. Hale shrugged his shoulders. If you say so. If Mr. Carter catches us, he's going to kick my butt. Maybe yours too. Scrunch up good under those covers. Yeah, all right. Hale bowed his shoulders in and ran towards the door with his hands still in his pockets. I looked around the play yard until I saw a big oak tree. I walked over to it and set my bed up on the downwind side, even covered up completely. I still heard the wind and the night rolling over me. Felt my worries ease, and I lay there in the darkness and imagined that I was someplace else. I woke before daybreak when the first birds made scattered calls. I lay under the blanket for a few seconds, remembering where I was. Eventually, it came to me, and worry flooded me again. I peered out and watched my breath stream before me in the chilled morning. The wind had settled, and the ground was covered with frost. The windows of the boys' home were dark, and the only sound was the humming of streetlights. I stood and wrapped the blanket around my shoulders and studied the play yard. I looked at the tall utility fence with barbed wire on top, then inspected each of the trees. None of them were close enough to the fence to allow anyone to climb up and jump over. I knelt and dug at the bottom of the fence with my hands until my fingers scraped cement. There was no way under. I stood again and walked over to the school trailers. They were set almost 10 feet away from the fence. There was no way to leap from the roof. But I had not studied them long before I knew they were the second piece of my escape plan. I slipped into the bunk room just as people started to stir in their beds. Radiators hissed and warmed the room from each side, and everyone was wrapped tightly in their blankets. I went to my bunk and touched Hale's shoulder. He opened his eyes and looked at me. Better get outside, I said. Mr. Jean's going to be here soon. Hale rubbed his eyes and didn't seem to hear me. Suddenly he sat up and threw off his blanket. Crap, he said, and hurried outside. During breakfast, Kit told me that some of the other boys had been talking about making me president. President of what? A prison. Of Pinson. What does the Pinson president do? He just acts like the president. What do presidents act like? Like the boss of everybody? Who's president now? Hale. Does he know about me getting his job? No. I looked over at Hale. He stared at me, but wasn't a mean stare. He watched me curiously. He's looking at me right now, I said. I think he might know something about this president stuff. No way he knows. Everybody except you is scared of Hale. Well, I don't want to be president. I'm not going to be here long enough to be a president. When are you leaving? Tonight. Tonight? That's right. I'm busting out of here. I can't take being penned up much longer. I think it's making me sick. Can I still come? Yeah, I don't think I can do it without you anyway. Me? Yeah, you're the one that's going to let us out of here. Chapter 16. During a lunch break, Kit followed me to the corner of the play yard, where Hal stood with some other boys. I saw them stop what they were doing and watch us. Hey, I said. Hale looked around at the others and then back at me. Come over here with me and Kit, I said. I've got something to tell you. Hale rubbed his palms on his uniform nervously. You know I ain't mad at you anymore, he said. I know. I forgot all about that. We got other stuff to talk about. Hale glanced at his friends and nobody said anything. All right, he said. I led the two of them to a spot in the play yard where no one could hear us talk. You want to help us bust out of here? What? I'm busting out. I need your help. How in the heck you gonna bust out of here? Kit's gonna let us out. I've got it all figured. Hale pointed to Kit. He's going? What's wrong with Kit? He's got to have medicine for one. He can't do anything without getting sick. You worry about yourself, Hal, Kit said. You don't know about me. Whatever, Hale said. Nobody's ever gotten out of Pinson anyway. You can't get out of here, Moon. I can get out of most anywhere. Hales studied me for a second and then shrugged his shoulders. Well, sure, he said. If you think you can do it, I'll help you. I want to come with you, though. I told Kit I don't care who comes with me. What do you want me to do? You're going to drive. Drive? Yeah, you know how to drive? I used to drive my daddy's truck a little, just around the clay pit. Driving's driving, right? I guess, Hale said. As long as you can see over the steering wheel, we can figure out the rest. I think I can do it. Good, because they'll catch us for sure if we start running from right outside that fence. I could tell that Hal was getting excited. His face twitched and his hands jittered against his sides. When do we go? He asked. Tonight. After Mr. Carter leaves and Mr. Jean's asleep in his house, I'll wake you up. I climbed out of my bunk a couple hours after lights out. I passed by Kit and Hale, and both their eyes were wide open and watching me. I'll be back, I whispered. Wait here. I slipped out of the bunk room and down the hall into the rec room. And I crawled under the ping pong table and used a penny to fold in the play yard. I'd found in the play yard to unscrew a flat metal fastener that held the two halves of the table together. I went back out into the hall with a fastener and crouched against the wall opposite the entrance to the rec room, from where I could hear the opening and closing of the front door. I sat still and I heard Mr. Carter leave at midnight. When I returned to the bunk bed, Hale and Kit were still watching me. He's gone, I said. Get dressed. The two of them got out of their beds quietly, and then all three of us put on our uniforms and jackets. I still don't see how you're going to do this, Hale whispered. Come outside, I said. We can talk where nobody hears us. I pushed the door to the play yard open, and we stepped out into the night. I showed them the fastener. You see this? Hale, you lift me up and Kit up in the roof of one of these school trailers. I'm going to unscrew a piece of that sheet tin with this ping pong piece for a screwdriver. I figure that roof's about 12 feet wide and that trailer's about 10 feet from that fence. Once I get that piece of tin off, we can lay it from the roof of the trailer to the top of the fence. Somebody light like Kit can slide right down it and out of Pinson. Hale thought about it. What's going to happen when he falls off the other side of that slide? He's going to break his leg. I look at Kit. Kit, you know how to make a monkey landing? Kit shook his head. Like this, I said. I jump up and land with most of my weight on my knees. Bend them slowly, then roll across the ground. You've got to take the fall like that. Just stick the ground when you land and roll over. I don't know if I can do it. You can do it. After you get over there, you're going to go around to the supply room next to the kitchen where you get haircuts. When I was in there, I saw that you can get in from the outside without a key. They come in there to drop off food boxes. Once you get in, though, you got to prop the door open so it won't lock behind you. Then there's got to be somebody to open the kitchen door from the inside. We'll be there waiting on you. How you going to get through the kitchen to that supply room door? Hale asked. Mrs. Broomstead locks it every night and takes the key home with her. I got it all figured, Hale. Don't you worry. You better have. You got to figure that car we're going to drive out of here? I don't know yet. Whichever one has keys in it. Y'all ready? I'm ready, Moon, Kit said. Hale frowned and shook his head. I guess. Jesus. Kit and I stood on Hale's shoulders to get onto the roof where I started unscrewing a piece of sheet tin. I went slow so I wouldn't make any noise and wake Mr. Jean. We could see every window of his kitchen from where we were, and the street light had us lit up like we were on a stage. I told Kit to keep a lookout for anything unusual going on in Mr. Green's house. It seemed that I took out nearly 50 screws and passed 30 minutes before I could lift the sheet tin. When I locked down, Hale was sitting against the trailer sleeping. Hale, I said. He jerked awake and rubbed his eyes. Get ready. Go stand under the slide I'm about to make in case Kit falls. This better work. I'm tired. Hurry up, I said. Hale stood and walked around the other side of the trailer near the fence. You ready, Kit? I think so. I lifted the tin and walked to the edge of the trailer. My plan was to stand it straight up in the air and let it down slowly to the top of the fence. But when I had it up, a breeze came and blew against it. I almost slid off the roof trying to hold it. Kit, come help me. I'm about to fall off here. Kit jumped up and grabbed one side of the tin. The breeze came again and blew against it. We held on the best we could, but we weren't strong enough. The tin slipped from our fingers and slammed down against the top of the fence. A prickly feeling shot up my back as I heard the sound travel across the yard. I saw Hale dive to the ground and lie still. Get down, I told Kit. Lay as flat as you can on the roof. Kit and I flattened ourselves against the roof and watched Mr. Jean's house. Not a second later, his kitchen light came on, and his face pressed against the glass. I knew that he couldn't see the tin line over the fence from where he was, but he could see us on the roof of the trailer if we weren't low enough. What are we going to do? Kit whispered. Shh, suck in your stomach. Anybody coming? Hale asked. Shh. We watched Mr. Jean's face. It was staring directly at us. Kit was breathing loudly, and his feet were shaking. It seemed like 10 minutes passed before Mr. Dean stepped away from the window and turned off his kitchen light. We lay there quietly for several minutes until Hale called to us from below. Anybody see you? No, I said. Mr. Jean looked out his window, but he didn't see us. Mr. Jean? Shh, he might not be asleep again. I'm getting out of here. We need you, Hale. He'll be back in bed by now. Kit, go ahead and start out there. Kit was still shaking from our close call. He nodded at me and began to crawl out onto the sheet tin. I knelt on the end so that it wouldn't slip. Sliding forward on his knees, Kit made his way to where the metal hung over the outside of the Pinson fence. When he stared down at the ground at the other end, he looked back at me. "That's good," I whispered. "Now remember what I said about the monkey landing." Kit nodded and looked back at the ground. I thought he might hesitate, but he got up on the edge and jumped off. He hit the ground almost like I showed him and rolled across the grass. I held my breath, hoping he wasn't hurt, until he stood up and brushed off his pant legs. He turned around and smiled. "Like that?" I looked down at Hale. "I told you we'd bust out of here." Hale smiled at me nervously. "Let's just hope you're right about the kitchen door. If you can't get it open, we ain't gonna be able to get him in here again." I jumped down from the roof and we ran across the play yard and slipped back into the bunk room. "What are y'all doing?" we heard a kid named Eddie say from his bed. "Go to sleep, Eddie," Hale snapped. "I've got to get something," I said. "Wait here." I hurried to the bathroom, stood in a chair, and carefully pulled the shoulder rod loose. After stripping it of the curtain, I tucked it under my arm and returned to Hale. "Y'all are going to get us in trouble," Eddie said. "Eddie, if you don't want me to beat the crap out of you," Hale said, "then shut your little baby mouth." We continued into the dining room hall where I stopped in front of the kitchen door. "Watch this," I said. I took the shower rod and stuck it through the slot in the wire mesh where the dishes were returned. By working it sideways, I was able to press against the deadbolt latch, and in a second, the cage door propped loose and swung open. "I ain't believing this," Hale said. "All them nights I was hungry." "Come on," I said. By the time we made it to the back of the kitchen, we heard Kit tapping on the inside door of the supply room. I unlocked and opened it, and he stood there grinning. "I can't believe it," Hale said. "We're just going to walk out of here." I motioned through the open door with my hand. "Go find something you can drive." Hale went outside and disappeared into the parking lot around the corner. I turned to Kit. "You sure you want to go?" Kit nodded his head. "Why are you so quiet?" "I'm just a little scared is all." "But what? About getting caught?" he said. "Shoot, we'll get out anything again if they catch us. What about your medicine?" "I don't need it." "You sure?" Kit hesitated for a second and said, "I'm sure. I don't need it anymore." "We won't need anything anymore, Kit. We can make everything we need." "And we'll go to Alaska?" "Yeah, and we'll go to Alaska, where there's all kinds of people that live in the forest and don't need the government." Kit began to knead his hands together with excitement. "Tell me what kinds of things we'll eat, Loon." "Anything we want. Deer, rabbit, coon, turkey, acorns, pine needle tea, huckleberries, thistle, cattails, poke salad. There's everything you could want out there." "That's what I want. I want to get my own food out of the forest. We'll hide for a while and I'll teach y'all some things about living out. Once everybody's stopped looking for us and we've got plenty of supplies, we can start for Alaska and find some more people that hate the government." "Yeah," Kit said. Both of us thought about all of that while we waited on Hale. "I've got to get a gun too," I said. "Maybe we can find the way to my shelter and get Pap's rifle. You know anything about the roads around here?" Kit shook his head. "Hale probably does," I said. Suddenly heard something that sounded like a big truck coming around the corner. Kit and I looked at each other. "What did he get that makes such a loud noise?" I said. Kit's eyes grew wide. "I don't know." Hale pulled up to the door and stopped. "Hey, Moon," came his voice. I looked out and saw Hale standing in front of the bus. "Why'd you get that?" Hale shrugged. "It's the only thing that had keys in it. I found him under the seat." "Mr. Jean's going to be mad now," Kit said. "He loves his school bus." "How many does it hold?" "It's got about 12 seats in it," Hale said. "It'll hold everybody with two people in the seat." "All right, I'll go see who all wants to go. Whoever wants out of here might as well come on now." "What?" Hale said. "After all this, you're going to go and get us busted?" "I won't get us busted." "Shoot," Hale said. He shook his head and spit. "Suit yourself. I think you're crazy." I started back towards the bunk room with Kit following me. "Moon, I don't think we should get everybody up. I think we should just go ahead and leave while we can." "It doesn't seem fair," I said. "I'll bet everybody in here is about to go crazy thinking about getting out." I flipped in the light to the bunk room. "Everybody stay quiet," I said. "We're busting out of here. Anybody that's coming, we've got a bus outside the kitchen."